Act 17 Apologetics again here at Dearborn, Michigan. We've been going through the various booths, getting the information that's found at tables, and here's one that I found extremely interesting. It's called Uprooting the Forces of Evil, Islam's War on Terrorism. Now when we go through the pamphlet, we see information provided that Muslims are against terrorism, against fighting, against violence whatsoever. It quotes chapters of the Quran, using them as information that says that the Quran does not promote violence. For example, Al-Ma'idah verse 32, it says, "It would be as if he killed the whole of mankind, and if anyone saved a life, it would be as if he saved the whole of mankind." In addition, it quotes verses against suicide bombings, such as Surah Al-Nisa verse 29, "Do not kill yourselves." Thus, this pamphlet uses Quranic verses and sources to show that violence is not allowed, and it also uses hadith without giving any of the references. For example, Abu Bakr saying, "Do not kill women or children or a senile person, do not cut down fruit-bearing trees, etc." Also Muhammad saying, "Whoever intentionally kills himself will be punished in the fire of hell." So we see Quranic verses being used with the sources and ahadith being used without the sources in order to promote that Islam is not a religion of violence. That's what this pamphlet says. But I wonder what this book has to say about the issue. When we turn to the Quran, we see something entirely different. What we see is violence, the verses that promote violence. For example, chapter 9, verse 29 of the Quran. "Fight those who believe not in Allah nor the last day, nor hold that forbidden which hath been forbidden by Allah and His Messenger, nor acknowledge the religion of truth from the people of the book until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued." What was this verse? This is chapter 9, verse 29 of the Quran, one of the last verses of the Quran that was revealed right before the Battle of Tabuk, a year or so before Muhammad died. So, the final marching orders of Islam is actually to kill people. What do we actually see in the ahadith as well? We see Muhammad saying that jihad is of the greatest commandments in Islam. That jihad is something worth dying for, and it's in fact the best thing in life. That the only reason Muhammad would ever come back to this world would be to die again in jihad, and then he hoped he'd come back to die again. These are the ahadith we find in Sahih Sittah. This pamphlet is telling us other things. Now, the fact of the matter is, either the pamphlet is something that was written sincerely, truthfully, or it's deception. Now, if it was written truthfully, we should be able to clarify these things by talking to the people at the booth. How about we give it a shot? Let's see what the people at the booth have to say about this pamphlet. Got questions, they got answers. You got questions about this pamphlet?
Can we turn the camera off?
Well, we wanted to get this recorded so you can be famous.
No, turn the camera off, I'll talk to you.
No camera? Alright, so what we see here is that we are told Islam got questions, we got answers, but they do not allow it to be recorded. Is this deception? I give you the answer.
What was the question you had?
The question is, this says Islam's war on terror.
Yes.
It talks about, are you getting this? Get closer then, get closer. It talks about Islam does not promote killing and violence.
Yes.
Now we know from hadith, we know from seerah literature, that one of the last chapters revealed from the Quran is chapter 9, Surah Al-Tawbah. In Surah Al-Tawbah it says, let me quote it for you. Are you familiar with this?
Go ahead, maybe you can remind me.
Alright. In Surah Al-Tawbah, chapter 9, verse 29, it says, "Fight those who believe not in Allah nor the last day, nor hold that forbidden which has been forbidden by Allah and His Messenger, nor acknowledge the religion of the truth from among the people of the book, until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued." And in fact, Abdullah Yusuf Ali says,
I ain't about to debate with him. Yeah, I ain't about to debate. He just talking. I ain't even gonna talk to him. I want to hear what he got to say.
In fact, Yusuf Ali says the reason why you're commanded to fight people until they pay the jizya is because the Jews say Uzair is a son of God.
Yusuf Ali is a bad translation. Why don't you read this? The question was about this. Read this.
Well, forget Yusuf Ali then. Just
No. You were saying the question is ahead. Why don't you read what's ahead?
I am.
Because it tells you that Islam is against terrorists. Read this book on the camera.
That's why I'm asking.
ask you.
I already did.
Read it though. What does it say?
So you're telling me, he's
What
telling
does it say?
me to read this pamphlet and not the Quran. He says read the pamphlet and not the Quran.
Because you said the question was about the pamphlet. You blocking the table. Excuse me.
You might have to get it. You blocking the table.
What do you want to know? Let him do it.
I'm saying this pamphlet says, Islam says be peaceful. Right?
The pamphlet doesn't say Islam says be peaceful.
What does it say?
The questions in this pamphlet are specific questions.
Yep.
These specific questions are answered by the scholars of Islam.
Okay.
Now read the first question to me. Read the first question. Well, you read the first question.
Hold on a second. I'm worried about her. If they're telling you to stop taping, stop taping.
She can tape it.
Stop
But I
taping.
want you to read it.
If you don't stop taping.
That's what
At this point in the video, a security woman forces our camera woman to turn off her camera. Allow me to leave this image up as I talk about the rest of the clip. I have to start off by giving the young gentleman credit. He said he was going to hear me out. This is something we very rarely see amongst people when discussing matters of religion. So, good on him for hearing me out. But shame on him for professing to know answers to questions that he does not know answers to. The booth was set up specifically to answer questions people may have about Islam. If you don't have answers to questions, then I would suggest not manning the table. Now someone may respond by saying, these questions are random questions and we can't expect them to know all the answers to questions someone may have. True, but the question I was asking was a general question regarding a pamphlet that they themselves handed to me a day prior. If you don't know the answers to questions that arise from the topic of pamphlets that you are handing out, I would suggest not manning the booth. I also have to make another comment. He says that the Yusuf Ali Quran is a bad translation. Well, you have every right to disagree with the details of Yusuf Ali's translation, but the topic I was bringing up is relatively general, and the point I was making is able to be deduced regardless of the translation you're using. Commentators from the Quran have made much more poignant statements about this very surah and verse than I was making, and they didn't need to turn to Yusuf Ali's translation. In addition, we see another common tactic besides denying the information, such as Yusuf Ali's translation. This tactic is to say, ignore what is actually being written and read what other people have to say about what's being written. In other words, don't read the Quran, read this pamphlet. This tactic is a common tactic, and I have to say it shows lack of faith in their own religious texts. So, saying don't read the Quran, read the pamphlet was a huge no-no in my book. Even though he didn't use those words, that is what he implied, and it is in fact also what the elder gentleman implied when he started talking to me. He started saying, look, scholars have answered these questions. Read the pamphlet. In other words, let the scholars do the thinking, you just read what they end up saying. Little sound bites that you can find in glossy pamphlets. I don't think that's accurate. I think that the major text of a religion such as the Quran should be relatively easy to understand, especially if it is recited as often as it is amongst the Muslim world. Now, allow me to turn to the security issue. Here we have security guards performing what I would consider illegal actions. Number one, the security woman said that we were not allowed to record this video. In fact, that is incorrect. We are allowed to record video because this is a public event. It's an event open to anyone. No one has to pay, no one has to register, and it is on public ground. So it's a public event, and the police themselves said we're allowed to record. So knowingly or unknowingly, she misinformed us and then enforced a false ruling by making us turn off our camera. Now, touching the camera is unquestionably illegal in the United States. Forcing a woman to turn off her camera with physical measures is also illegal. So the security people actually committed lots of infringements upon the law. And not only that, but she ignored what the man at the booth was saying. If you listen carefully, he said the words, she can tape it. In other words, he was okay with her taping this recording. However, security forced us to turn it off, again, illegally. Now, I do have to wonder why. Why is this happening? This is Nabeel Qureshi with Act 17 Apologetics. Stay tuned for the